There are a lot of hunting styles when it comes to Monster Hunter. A lot of hunters prefer to front load their equipment with as many offensive skills as they possibly can in order to dish out as much damage as they can in the shortest amount of time possible. Other hunters prefer to focus a little bit more on the defensive side of things in order to have a more comfortable experience. Other hunters still might actually focus on some strange niche skills that allow them to control the flow of battle a little bit better. Now, when it comes to me, I'm somewhat of a brawler. That is to say, I'm going to throw myself at the monster with everything that I've got, and I'm going to take every chance that is given to me, regardless of how risky it is or how low the probability of success is going to be for the chance that I am taking. This is one of the reasons why the Gunlance is the most appropriate weapon for me. This is a weapon that is referenced both by Japanese players as well as the developers as Roman. Roman being from romance. Romance in the sense of like this big romantic climax that you get whenever you just full burst into a monster. Big explosions happen, and it's this epic set piece in the hunt. That's just the way that I like to play it. Naturally, my mixed set is going to reflect that particular playstyle of taking as many chances as possible. Now, what I've seen over the years since I've started creating Monster Hunter content is that a lot of times you have newcomers that are joining in the scene and they're looking up what is the mathematically most optimal DPS set, and then they're trying to use that with whatever weapon they happen to play, and they end up struggling a little bit to come to grips with that particular set. And one of the things that I would like to point out to newcomers in specifically is that it's not always about getting that mathematically optimal damage set. Sometimes changing like just one or two skills in that set to have some comfort for your own personal playstyle is going to make the set infinitely better for yourself, and it is going to ensure that you are getting faster hunts. So keep this in mind whether you're watching a video for my mixed set or for somebody else's mixed set, that sometimes just a little bit of customization for your own personal taste is going to make all the difference in the world. Because after all, why does it matter if you can deal like 1,000 damage every minute if instead you could be dealing like 700 damage every 20 seconds? That is the most important thing. Positioning, comfort, and how much damage you're actually able to dish out with the set that you were able to put together. So keep that in mind. Now, up until this point, you've been watching the gameplay of me fighting a Doshaguma in what appears to be the Hope set. This is just to prevent spoilers from being at the very beginning of the video. But naturally, you're in a mixed set video. I'm going to be talking about, several monsters from the game, and I'm going to be showing endgame hunts. So if you didn't want to be spoiled, you shouldn't have clicked the video to begin with, dummy. What are you doing? But anyways, we're going to move on to spoiler gameplay, so if you want to leave, last warning. For those of you that want to stay, let's go ahead and talk about this. So first and foremost, what Gunlance are we using? Currently, the most powerful Gunlance in the game from all the testing that I have done is the G Lawful Bores. This is the Guardian Arcveld Gunlance. It is a wide shelling Gunlance, and it has the slightly strong shelling power. And you guys might be wondering, okay, but why is it the strongest? Isn't normal shelling going to be better for the full blast and burst strike combos? No. The G Lawful Bores beats out every single Gunlance in the game at pretty much everything. There might be some niche situations where some elemental Gunlances might move a little bit further ahead because, I'll be completely honest, I haven't really done extensive testing when it comes to elemental damage, but still, overall, 99% of the time, this is going to be the best Gunlance. Yes, even with Burst Strike and Full Blast combo, this thing beats out both long as well as normal. So if you only want to craft one Gunlance, this is the one to go for. Now, you can still play the other Gunlances, and I actually recommend that you do if you happen to be a Gunlance enjoyer like myself, because a lot of times when it comes to Gunlances, we end up getting like one or two choices that are viable, and most of the other ones are just like meme choices. This time, there's actually quite a few viable choices, but this one will still pretty much come out on top for pretty much almost every situation, if not every situation, okay? Now let's talk about the set itself. So when it comes to the headpiece, we're going to be going for Arc Vulcan Helm Beta, chest Arc Vulcan Mail Beta, arms Arc Vulcan Vambraces Beta, waist Ajaricon Coil Beta, legs Arc Vulcan Greaves Beta, and talisman we're going to go for the Chain Charm 2. So as you can see, we are going for the 4-piece Arcveld set, and the main reason why we're doing that is because it has a skill called Haste and Recovery 2. This is pretty much the same skill that you had back in the Nergigante set in Monster Hunter World. However, I think it might be a little bit more powerful than it was in World because I've noticed that it actually regenerates a decent chunk of health whenever you have the 4-piece set bonus combined with recovery decos, which do increase the healing available. From what I remember from my testing, I think it's about 5 procs of this is going to fully heal you up from 0 to full, which is about 20%. I think it's a little bit more than 20% of your health pool, which is pretty friggin' good, if you ask me. And on top of it, it procs every couple of seconds. Like, it's not super frequent. I didn't really measure the seconds of how much it procs, but it's really good. Feels really comfy. That's the reason why I use Arcveld's Hunger. I tried a bunch of other sets that will get you to deal more damage, but like I said, I like taking chances. This heal is very comfy. The other thing that this set also comes with is diversion, which is useful for me whenever I play multiplayer because I like playing as a tank, and basically this set is going to ensure that the monster is going to target me more often, and that is also going to allow me to go ahead and do more of the perfect blocks, which will also going to activate my offensive guard because I do have one piece of offensive guard in the gear, and if I'm able to somehow roll some decorations that come with more offensive guard, those are going to be a priority for me. But this is one of the main reasons why we're going 4-piece Arcveld. And then the waist from Rurikhan, the reason we're going for that is because it comes with 2-piece part breaker, and I just happen to be a part breaker enjoyer, so therefore we're going to get part breaker onto the set as well. So now let's talk about decorations. Now when it comes to decorations on the main weapon, which don't really pay too much attention to the second weapon, I don't really use it, but on the main weapon we have Artillery 3, Magazine Attack Jewel 3, and a Guardian Jewel 1. So Artillery 3 I've heard is a little bit rare. I have my doubts because usually I'm super unlucky when it comes to decorations. So if I already have the Artillery 3 deco, most likely it's not as rare as people were making it out to be. Then we have the magazine attack, and then we have one offensive guard. Now, if you're able to get like a magazine with offensive guard, which I don't know if that's even possible to roll, that would actually be the one that I would use there instead of magazine attack because offensive guard is just brutal. It is really, really good when it comes to Gunlance, and I heavily recommend if you're able to squeeze it into your set. It is excellent. If you don't have the Artillery Decoration 3, you're likely looking at some combination that you have of magazine with something else, and then you put an Artillery 2 and an Artillery 1 on the tier 1 slot, because ultimately what you really want is maximum load shells and maximum artillery. If you're only able to max out one of these two skills, my recommendation would be to max out load shells, unless you're playing normal, and at that point I think you can kind of just choose whichever one you want. But if you're playing wide or long, I would actually recommend load shells more so than artillery. I think it is more important to have that extra shell. And by the way, you do need 2 load shell points, otherwise you don't get the extra shell. But it's more important to get the extra shell over getting the artillery. Now, on the armor set itself, we're going to go for maximum burst. So on the head, we're going to do chain, earplugs, medicine. On the chest, chain, earplugs. On the gloves, earplugs, jumping, as well as medicine. And then on the belt, we're going to do destroyer. On the boots, we're going to go chain and medicine. And once you get a set put together like this, if you have to skimp out on anything because you don't have the decoration yet, you can make out for it with really whatever decoration you prefer. One of the things that might make the set a little bit more comfy is probably going to be more evade extender, so another jumping decoration somewhere. That might be something that helps, even if you need to take away the destroyer in order to do that, or take away one of the chains. You might even go evade extender 3 if you're new to the Gunlance and you're struggling to do perfect blocks or something like that. It's just the reason I only go one evade extender this time around is because, you know, we got perfect block, and it's just so powerful that I'm usually just blocking as many things as I possibly can. So therefore, I don't need to dodge as many things as possible. Now, looking at the finalized build here, you're looking at Artillery 3, Guard 2 comes from the Gunlance itself. Then we have load shells level 2. We have 1 attack boost that comes from my magazine deco, an offensive guard that we actually slotted in. If you're able to get more offensive guard, highly, highly, highly recommend. Full burst, because burst is just super easy to maintain with the Gunlance. You're probably able to get like 90% uptime on the hunt unless the monster's constantly running away. And even then, you can just like mount up on Sacred and do the cavalry charge thing and just keep bashing away at him with the Gunlance. Then we have Convert Element, which is a little bit of a niche skill, but I actually really, really like it. The reason I like Convert Element is because it gives you a little burst of dragon damage here and there. It's probably not super optimal, but I just like skills that proc, so that's fun for me. We have Recovery Up, which gives us additional healing whenever Haste's regeneration procs from the armor set. Then we have Part Breaker 3, which I like. You can replace that. If you want like belts that you can replace in order to not use Part Breaker, here's some recommendations that I can give you. You can go for the Blango set, the Blango Coil Beta, which comes with 2 Agitator. Another option could potentially be the Ebony Doggo, which comes with 1 level of burst and frees up one of your chain decoration slots to put something else. You also have Duna Wild Coil, which I actually ran for a while, which gives you 2 points of peak performance and really good slots. And then you can just slot in, instead of earplugs, you can put a bunch of flawless decos in there and max out peak performance. And because of the fact that you have haste regeneration, you're going to have a pretty reasonable uptime with it. Unless you're playing poorly, then yeah, you might struggle a little bit. But yeah, these are some of the options that you have available to you. Now, I don't really do a whole lot of weakness exploit or anything like that, because fundamentally shells can't crit. And even though your swings do crit, I just kind of feel like the damage isn't all there. And for me, it's more based on feel rather than what is mathematically most accurate or whatever. But yeah, so Part Breaker 3 for me. Then we have earplugs. And I know that a lot of people are going to say, Rurikhan, you have a shield, you don't need earplugs. And let me tell you, earplugs might actually be one of the skills that gives us the most damage in this set. And I know you guys are going to go like, what the hell are you talking about, bro? Earplugs? It's a defensive skill. Yes, it is. But let me tell you something. Even though Gunlance is very, very powerful this time around, it is very easy for certain monsters to interrupt your combo with a roar that would otherwise be perfectly safe to just continue dishing out damage. Now, you can play more conservatively and therefore wait out the roars, block them, perfectly evade them, do whatever you want. Or you can go balls to the walls like I do, and whenever the monster feels like, it's time to roar, I'm like, sounds like it's time to full blast or wyvern fire you in the face. I cannot tell you how many times I've been interrupted from like the fast wyvern fire because a monster decided, it's time to roar. Or how many times I've had my full blast combo interrupted because of a roar. I love earplugs on this iteration of Gunlance. This skill is goated as far as I'm concerned. If you don't like it, feel free to replace it with another, skill that is going to give you maybe a little bit more damage, like Flawless. Hell, even Counter-Strike. If you're new, you might want to get Counter-Strike because you might be getting slapped around a little bit. So, whatever. But earplugs, to me, absolutely goated. Wex and Blast Resistance, these are just like skills that are coming with the set, as well as Quick Sheath. The important one, obviously, being Evade Extender, and then we have Haste and Recovery and Diversion. So that is the set that we are running. In my opinion, this is the one that I've had the most fun with. So now let's talk a little bit about Gunlances. Like I've said, there's actually quite a few options for Gunlances that you can go and play. One of the ones that I would recommend as well is the Shining Rook. I love the way this Gunlance looks. I love playing this Gunlance. And it is also a wide shelling Gunlance. It is slightly strong. Unfortunately, the equipped skills are not that good because you're not going to get that much benefit out of Master's Touch or Critical Element, which as far as I'm concerned, I think Critical Element is just pretty lame all around, so it's not really something that you'd want. And even if it was, your fire damage is not even that much to justify having Critical Element on there, so I don't know what's the deal with that. How much did they nerf the raw damage of this Gunlance just for the sake of, let's put some affinity on there and Critical Element, Master's Touch. Like, it's fine, it's fun if you want to play against the monster that's weak against fire. It might even be a little bit of a benefit there. And it just gives you more variety of things that you can play. Another Gunlance that I would recommend is the Precipice Lohamata, which is from Jin the Had. Now, this is a beast. Look at the amount of ice element on this thing. It's got 500 ice element. Also comes with 3 guard, which is pretty friggin' good. Now, the raw damage is a little bit on the lower side, but in my opinion, more than makes up for it in just the sheer amount of ice elemental damage that it's got on there. Very, very, very good gun lance, and also a very viable alternative to some of the more to the more mainstream gun lance G lawful bores. Then the other one is the Fire Trail Commodore. If you happen to feel like playing normal shelling, this is the one to get. As a matter of fact, throughout the beginning of the game, this is just one of the best gun lances that you can possibly craft. And at the end game, it is also very much still a viable gun lance. So if you like playing normal shelling, you can play this gun lance. It is super fun. Also comes with 3 guard, which is very, very useful. 5% affinity, 250 fire. The fire damage is not really that much, but it's whatever, right? So really good gun lance to play as well. If you happen to want to go the route of thunder damage, another one that I can recommend is the Fulgur Cannon Guardiana from Guardian Fulgur Anjanath. Comes with a whopping 400 thunder. It does have level 3 critical element, which, like I've said before, kind of not great, but still, at least it gives you that 15% affinity to give you that little bit oomph with the thunder damage. And it's just fun for me to swap between different gun lances, so I will try to change over to the element that the monster is weak against. But again, always remember that at the end of the day, if you're fighting a monster that you're struggling with, you might still want to go for the G lawful bores because it'll just win out against these gun lances most likely. But again, I like swapping things up and just playing different gun lances. Also, if you're in the mood for playing some long shelling, this is one of my favorites. The White Cannon, the Gravios gun lance, comes in again with a whopping 400 blast, long shelling, level 3 guard up, which, to be honest, there's not that many attacks that you can't block, so it's not really that big of a deal. But, you know, it's better than nothing. And, you know, you're going to get a lot of blast procs, which is cool. You also have a little bit of a defensive bonus as well, because Gravios is a very defensive type monster. But still, the blast procs do happen quite often. Blast is viable pretty much on every single monster in the game. There's only one monster that's somewhat resilient to blast, which I don't even know if it's resilient. It just has 1 star instead of 2, which is New Udra. Everything else has like 2 stars to blast, so you're going to be able to use this on every monster if you want. This is actually the gun lance that I use the most during the review period of the game. Ton of fun to play. But again, G lawful bores beats it out in terms of raw damage. And if for whatever reason you feel like playing poison, this is like the least recommended one for me, but it does come with 400 poison and 230 raw, which is the big slugger. And it also has a really neat look. This is the Gypsros line. Pretty neat. However, the biggest problem with this gun lance is that the skills that it has is punishing draw and critical draw, which I'm just left saying, Capcom, why? Why? Who cares? Nobody cares about punishing draw and critical draw on a gun lance. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe somebody in the comments section is like, actually, Rurikhan, here's this very niche case where this is actually very, very useful. But I highly doubt it. Anyway, these are the gun lances that I recommend. This is the set that I recommend. Hopefully this helped you guys out. You can also use this set with pretty much any other weapon that you want, because right now the skills for the weapons and the skills for the armor are so vastly different that it's just viable to use this armor with anything that you want pretty much. But hopefully this helped you guys out. If you guys enjoyed the video, hit the like button, subscribe, on notification icon, all that jazz, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay strong, stay safe. Peace out.